Hey, welcome. In this video, I am going to be swatching out some greens that have caught my attention of late. As you know, I absolutely love Roman Schmall greens, and these are just a few. These are all the greens that I have swatched out by Roman Schmall, and I have created a whole separate video highlighting that. However, I am in the process of sharing some watercolors, and I thought that it would be nice to pay a bit more attention to watercolors that come in tubes, watercolors that make some interesting mixes. So this is just going to be a really nice and chill, relaxed swatching sessions of some out there greens, if you like. Starting things off, we have Daniel Smith's Perylene Green. This is a color that, as you can see on here, completely exploded on the page. It is PBK 31, but it is a beautiful, moody green that, as the name implies, in mass tone almost looks black, and then when you lighten it up, it's just a really nice forest green. Then we have another Daniel Smith color, and this is Undersea Green, and it's a color that I liked so much that I actually got it in stick form as well. So it's made up of PB29, PO48 and PY150, and it is just a really interesting, beautiful, natural looking granulating green. And by natural, I almost mean like it leans a little bit more towards olive or green that you could actually see in trees and in leaves. It's absolutely stunning and one to keep an eye out for as it dries. Then next we have a relatively new addition, and this is Nordman Green by Isaro. It's a color that I saw swatched on YouTube and and immediately wanted and had to wait weeks for because it was sold out for the longest time. It is made up of PG7 and PV16, and again it is a really nice granulating green. It's not like, I wouldn't say it's like the most natural of colors when you look at it. It's definitely like an interesting green, but it's lovely, it's blue leaning, and it's just got a lot of character, and again can separate out into really nice colors. And I'm swatching all of these out on my Caddy Fat book, just as a heads up. Then next we have Daniel Smith Permanent Green Light. This is PY3 and PG7. And let me be honest, I feel like I haven't really given phthalo greens a fair chance, and it's only recently when I started using them in mixes that I started fully appreciating their capabilities. So this is a super bright green for me, but definitely one that I would consider using more so for mixing than on its own. But what I do like is that you also see those little bits of yellow poking through. Then next we have Daniel Smith's Sap Green, and I absolutely love this green. It is PO48, PY150 and PG7, and it is one of my favorite Daniel Smith colors that actually got me to use Daniel Smith to begin with. Initially I was using all my Cotman colors, but this hue right here was just absolutely everything that I wanted at the time, and it just completely won me over to Daniel Smith, and from here I just got a few more colors. Then next we have next we have Cotman's Sap Green, which is, again, I love sap greens as a whole, like these kind of sap green looking colors, but I could see the difference between the two. So I think both are lovely, but very different in my opinion. And this one is made up of PY139, PG36 and PR101. And again, another one to keep an eye on. Then we have Phthalo Green, or Intense Green by Cotman, which is PG36. And again, as I've said, I didn't fully appreciate the power of phthalo greens until recently. And I'll show you a page that kind of won me over once we finish swatching these out. Next we have Michael Harding's Hooker's Green. It has PG36, PR101 and PY180. And again, a really lovely natural looking green, cooler than a sap green. Again, just quite lovely. Just occurred to me, I didn't know if my pen was water soluble or not, but it looks like it is, thank goodness. And you can see how the undersea green has started changing, and that is why I love it. Next we have Jackson's Sap Green. I just wanted these sap greens somewhat near each other. Let me add some water. It's made up of PB29 and PY154. And this is I must admit, I feel like the Jackson's colors surprised me. Like I had quite low expectations, but actually a lot of their colors are like really, really nice, indigo included. Like that color was absolutely stunning when I swatched it in the last video. So again, another one to keep an eye out for and see how it changes as it dries. Then we have a few Sennelier colors. So the first one is Sennelier Phthalo Green Deep, and it is made up of PB15-3 and PG7. Can you see how heavily featured Phthalo Green is in this video? And this is absolutely stunning. Nice, deep, bright, electric kind of green that again I wouldn't use on its own, but I think that in combination of mixes is really nice. Then next we have Sennelier's Olive Green. Whoopsie, let me just close this. Let me struggle to close this. So next we have Sennelier's Olive Green. And as you can probably tell by all my swatches, I tend to really lean towards olive greens usually. Let me clean out my brush properly because I feel like there's an element of phthalo green there, and there we go. It's lovely, very green, very yellow leaning olive green. It has PY150, which I guess is that glow that we're seeing, PG36 and PBR23. So I'm really curious to see how that will dry, but I like it. But obviously I would because I love olive greens. And then we have Schmincke's Permanent Green Olive. So another like olivey green. Let me just get it to hand. Permanent Green Olive right here. But this isn't as olivey as I would expect, or as one would expect. It is made up of PO62 and PG7, and again I think it's that PG7 that's really swaying it to one color. It's got a bit of binder separation, so I'm just taking some more. Got carried away with my swatch. But again, do you see what I mean? It's not olive. It's nice, but it's not olive. But I think this swatching really does make me think about like how many of them have phthalo greens in them. And I think the only other one that I would also want to swatch is this, which is Rembrandt's Dusk Green. It's really nice, dark and moody green that again granulates in a lovely way. And when I first swatched it out, I think in the live stream, it hadn't like mixed properly. Like I can't quite explain it. Like the first swatch was very different to the second swatch once I'd mixed it. And I mixed it before it dried, and I am pleased to report that in reactivating the half pan, it is as it should be. And I just love this moody green. And let me just make a note of it before I forget. Okay, I've labeled that, and I just wanted to show you how much I have been enjoying swatching out greens. So for example, this is me swatching out Roman Schmall's Hooker's Green and mixing it with a whole bunch of different colors. I did the same with Quinaptolone Yellow by Roman Schmall. I then turned to this page, and this is phthalo green, and I like the absolute wide range of colors that I could get from mixing. I thought was phenomenal, especially when I mixed the phthalo green with Quin Magenta. This is a complete side note, but why not when we're talking about greens? And then also one of my all-time favorite greens is the Aquarius Green by Roman Schmall, and again you just get such beautiful greens from it. Mixing it with Quinacridone Gold or Quinacridone Gold Hue, again really beautiful mixes. Mixing it with like Cypress Burnt Umber Deep, got some really nice greys as well. It's just one of my absolute favorite colors. I know it wasn't like the point of this video, but it feels like I can't not swatch my favorite colors. So I'm going to just add a couple more swatches of the greens that I do go back to time and time again so that we can see them as well. Roman Schmoll's Hooker's Green, which is made up of PY150 and PB27. And then right next to it we have another one of my favorites, and this Hooker's Green is what I use in place of like my sap green, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like they are quite similar. Then next what we have here is Roman Schmoll's Aquarius Green, which again I just think is absolutely beautiful. It's nice in mass tone, it's nice when watered down, it granulates really nicely, so if you're using it to like create foliage, it just gives that little bit of effortless intrigue. And again, another one to just keep an eye out on, or keep an eye on? Yeah, keep an eye on as it dries, because it does tend to change as the others are, as you can see. The Aquarius Green is made up of PY150, PBR25 and PB29. This entire swatch sheet here was inspired by Aquarius Green and just how beautiful I thought that the colours and the mixes were with it. So I just mixed it with a number of different watercolours, and this is a video which is available on my Ko-fi. So if you're interested, if you want to see the different mixes that I created and how I created them and why Aquarius Green is a colour that I keep going back to time and time again, then be sure to check out that video on my Ko-fi. And I'll have a number of different videos which I will also leave linked down below for you. Turns out I really enjoy swatching and I really enjoy doing colour mixing, and I have spent hours doing this specifically for greens. So what's a few more minutes? I decided to mix them up with quinophthalone yellow, quinacridone gold hue, ultramarine, magenta and cypress burnt umber deep, because these are the colours that I carry with me in my travel palette. And these first swatches that I am doing are with Purling Green. I was just really curious to see what mixes I could get, especially as I don't tend to use it often in my normal palette, and I really like how lovely and deep the colours were. I even like the purples that we managed to get with mixing it with the magenta. Following that, I used the Permanent Light Green, or Permanent Green Light by Daniel Smith. And again, this was just because I don't tend to use it very often, and I kind of feel like phthalo greens or like super electric greens have quite a bad rep for me. Anyway, so I wanted to try that out. And of this, the mixture that I really enjoyed was mixing it with the ultramarine blue and just getting like a little bit, I don't know, almost like a almost turquoise kind of blue. I really enjoyed that. Then we have the Michael Harding Hooker's Green, and I'm not gonna lie, I feel like once it dried it was just a little bit disappointing for me, and so I was trying to see if the mixing capabilities would be its kind of saving grace, and I really liked mixing it with the quinacridone gold hue. I thought that that made some really nice colours, but other than that, I just feel like the Michael Harding, some of the colours are really nice and bright when you lay them down, and then they dry like flat and in a little bit of a disappointing manner. When I tried to mix it with the magenta and with the burnt umber, just got like, you know, standard brownie greens, which were okay. But these are a few close-ups of the colours. Some of them are still wet, so I will show you another close-up once they are dry. But yeah, as you can see, the Michael Harding's a little bit disappointing. The Jackson Sap Green has got some really nice granulation in there. You can see the ultramarine poking through. Schminke was a little bit gummy when it came out of the tube. It's the Permanent Green Olive, which is just on the right. And also it looks like it's still wet, even though it's dry. So it's just got like a bit of a sheen to it. And I've swatched it a few times. And that keeps happening, so it may just be that the binder separated a little bit. The Sennelier Olive Green is beautiful, quite simple colour, quite matte, but really beautiful. And then also, surprisingly, I really like the Sennelier Phthalo Green Deep as well, and I think that's a beautiful colour. Just taking a closer look at the greens at the top, I definitely think I need to try using Purling Green Deep. Purling Green a little bit more. I just think it's a really nice, deep, moody colour that would lean itself well to landscapes. So definitely one that I'm going to be using more, especially because I also like the mixes that I can make with it, which I'm pleasantly surprised with. Then undersea green, we already know that I love, and I think I love it in part because of its unpredictability. So the way that it's going to granulate and how like which colors are going to come through and everything, a lot of the time feels like it's not completely in my control, and I really like that element and I like that quality when I'm doing landscapes, because I feel like that makes it look more organic, more fresh, and more like actual like nature. It makes it look natural. So that's definitely one I'm going to be using more. The Isaru Nordman green and the Rembrandt dusk green, these two colors, I like the way they look. I don't know how to apply them in practice. I think that the Rembrandt dusk green I could use a little bit more than the Isaru Nordman green, especially if I'm doing like landscapes, and this is what I have in mind at the moment in terms of the things that I want to be painting a bit more of. But the alternative, I guess, is just abstract art, again, because they just have a unique personality of their own. Then looking at the far left, we have Daniel Smith's Permanent Green Light. Again, I feel like I give phthalo greens like a really hard rep, but I do like some of the mixtures that I can get from it. So I am going to be playing around with both that one and the Cotman Intense Green, because I know that I can make some really nice mixes with them. Daniel Smith Sap Green, we already know I absolutely love. Cotman Sap Green, I like. It is one of my favorite Cotman colors. And Jackson Sap Green, we've already said I really like. And then what does that leave? And yeah, M Harding, I don't know, the Hooker's Green. Tell me what you think. Just because I do feel like some of them, not all of them, but some of the Michael Harding colors I'm just very disappointed by. I think especially when I take into account like the price point, I just think I can get better greens from other brands. Like if you compare the M Graham Hooker's Green to the Roman Schmoll Hooker's Green, to me, like they are miles apart. But yeah, that's just my opinion. So if you have enjoyed this video, if you want more casual swatching videos where I am either highlighting favorites or random colors I'm thinking of using, or just, you know, chilling and swatching, then consider hitting the like button as it makes a difference. Consider subscribing so that you don't miss any future videos, and leave me a comment down below to just let me know. If you are still watching, you are a real MVP, and I really appreciate you. Let me know that you are still watching by telling me your favorite green, and it can be a green from this video or a green that you go back to and use time and time again that's currently in your palette. And if you also enjoyed this video, you will love these series of next ones where I do even more swatches of some of my favorite colors. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.